Inspired by Grammaticus, I've gathered my top 10 favorite book covers from my collection to share with you. We'll start it off with Flight from the Dark by Joe Dever and Gary Chalk, the first in the Lone Wolf series of choose-your-own-adventure game books. This is my original copy, and you can see it's a much-used and much-loved book from my childhood. I've talked about Lone Wolf in another video and what that series means to me. You can see from the cover art by Don Maitz what would draw a person interested in fantasy and adventure stories to this book. Here we have the Frank Frazetta cover to the Sphere edition of the Conan collection by Robert E. Howard. This is one of my favorite depictions of Conan by Frank Frazetta, showing the Cimmerian engaged in a life-or-death struggle with a monstrosity. There is a dynamic quality that tells us about the character, and I'm pretty sure the scene is from the story Rogues in the House, which is in this collection. This cover captures the sense of grit and vitality that is essential to the character of Conan. This is Robert Gould's cover to Skrayling Tree, part of a trilogy of books by Michael Moorcock featuring Elric and a few other aspects of the Eternal Champion. This series came out in the early 2000s, and I enjoyed 2/3 of it, which is better than average for me and Moorcock. I like the depiction of Elric on the cover, this enigmatic, moody albino. The colors all work well, the navy, gold, and white, along with the various images of things that are part of Moorcock's multiverse. Images of law and chaos, the Holy Grail, the World Tree, and so on. I've actually come to like it because it's missing one of the elements that is so often a part of Elric iconography: Stormbringer. The Black Blade isn't seen explicitly in this picture, and I kind of like that. Speaking of favorite depictions of characters, this is Larry Elmore's cover to R.A. Salvatore's The Crystal Shard. Elmore is of course famous for all his Dungeons & Dragons work and the covers of the Dragonlance novels. This is my favorite depiction of Drizzt Do'Urden, possibly the most famous drow elf in all of literature and gaming. I enjoy the posing and sense of mystery as these characters stare off panel but in the direction of the viewer, as if maybe you're the one they're tracking across the Icewind Dale. I enjoy Elmore's style. I think it lends itself to that sense of adventurous high fantasy, and this, to my mind, is one of his best works. I appreciate how the minimalism of the cover matches its subject matter. Hagakure is the manual by Yamamoto Tsunetomo, describing the best practices on how to live and die as a samurai in feudal Japan. It can be read as a philosophical text, so you can apply the lessons to your own life now, and maybe some of you will recognize it as the book Forrest Whitaker is always quoting in the underrated film Ghost Dog Way of the Samurai. I enjoy this cover and how its simplicity invokes what the author is communicating about living with immediacy and in motion toward a goal. Now I have no idea who does this cover, and even trying to find out the publisher, Kodansha International, led me nowhere. Even though I cannot pass that information along, I'm still recommending the book and ranking it among my favorite covers. I enjoy it, even if I'm ignorant of the artist. For those of you who thought you'd see Michael Whelan's art when I was talking about Elric, surprise! My favorite cover by Whelan is for this concluding book to C.S. Friedman's Coldfire trilogy, Crown of Shadows. This depicts Gerald Tarrant. I know it has certain Elric vibes, but I like this cover because of its framing and color use. I don't recall if it evokes a particular scene, and I'm due for a reread of these books. I know you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but this one is kick-ass enough to draw the eye and convince someone to pick it up. This is the cover to Lian Hearn's Emperor of the Eight Isles, the first book in the Shikanoko series that I talked about in one of my first videos. The color works well, and you get this ancient-looking depiction of a character in the book. But if you didn't know, you could just as easily imagine it was from a wall scroll or a woodblock print you'd see in a museum in Beijing or Kyoto. The art here is by Yuko Shimizu, who you may know as the designer of Hello Kitty, which fascinates me. So here's this person who has made a nearly universal pop culture icon, but can also turn around and create this beautiful, highly detailed, traditional-looking piece of artwork with some additional design by Alex Merto. I think this is an excellent piece that fits well with the story. Even if you don't read the back copy, you know what kind of story you're going to get from the cover alone. Here is my remaindered library copy of Giorgio Scerbanenco's Traitors to All, part of his Milano quartet of post-war Italian noir and giallo novels. Christopher King's artwork provides that atmosphere. The colors, dark greens, dark blues, and black contrasting with the bright yellow, create that sense of darkness and mystery. The cover scene happens early in the novel, so nothing is being spoiled by knowing a car and its passengers are going into a Milan canal with fatal results. Who would have suspected such a thing would happen in a murder mystery novel? The mood of the book you know just from looking at this cover, and there's a simplicity here that contrasts with the twisty murder story that's about to unfold. Many of you likely know that Alan Lee is a longtime artist of Tolkien's work. For me, one of his best pieces is the cover to the Fall of Numenor, showcasing the titular event. We see the tragedy of Numenor's destruction in no small part because of the hubris of its people. One of the aspects that interests me is how the color work draws the eye. We see the hazy red sun in the background, mirrored by the fires in the temple where Sauron is probably conducting human sacrifices right up until the last minute because that guy just doesn't know when to quit. We see the wrath that comes from defying the ban of the Valar made evident in this singular act of destruction. The scene also ties into long-standing themes from Tolkien that the grandeur, greatness, and ingenuity of people can be overcome by the natural world. Here, we see a great nation as being destroyed not by invaders with superior might and weaponry, but by a single, gigantic tidal wave. Lee's great work here is made better by its resonance with themes all throughout the author's body of work. We're going to end with something that has a touch of shameless self-promotion. This is Shimac's cover to Blood Echoes, a Bloodborne anthology. This collection has explorations and analysis of the video game Bloodborne, including an essay of mine. On the cover you can see one horrific entity climbing to the top of the cathedral ward within the city of Yharnam spread out below, and it reaches toward another horrific entity, the moon presence, which is descending to join in Eldritch communion. The reliance on shades of red and black evoked a sense of terror in Bloodborne, as well as the literal and thematic fixation on blood. The book is also filled with more great art by Shimak, and beyond that, I'm just grateful to have been involved with the book. Those are the 10 favorite covers that I own, and my reasoning why, whether you asked for it or not. Let me know what you think about my choices in the comments. Again, hats off to Grammaticus for starting this round of videos and everyone who is participating. There will be links for them in the description. You should check them out too, or the algorithm will replace all the covers you love with shitty AI-generated slop. Until next time, read some good books with good covers. Live and be well.